Pure terror echoes through a quiet neighborhood during the early morning hours in Walnut Creek, California.
I heard a shot and two long, horrible screams, and then another shot.
Marianne Orton Johnson frantically calls 911, but she has no idea where the shots or the screams are coming from.
The 911 operator called back and said, the police need to get in your house. As I'm walking downstairs with the phone in my hand, I saw Claire on the ground.
Claire is Marianne's 19-year-old daughter. She's been shot just feet from the front door.
She was the one I heard screaming, and I could see the flashing blue and red lights through the window, and I opened the door, and they came in.
Cops rush into the house as Marianne tries to fight her way to her daughter.
They had guns drawn. They said, get back, don't touch anything. And they put me on a couch and sat with me. But I knew that they weren't performing CPR. I think I knew right away that she was gone.
Tragically, it's too late for Claire. Then police discover another body.
I think they asked who else was in the house, and I said, my husband Bill and my son Neil. And they said, is that the young man in the driveway? Is that your son? And I said, no, and look, I didn't know anything about anybody else.
It was Claire Orton's ex-boyfriend, Scott Bertix. He and Claire had broken up almost 2 years earlier. Scott tried to rekindle the relationship, but Claire had moved on.
She thought that it was not good for them to communicate, and that therefore she was going to not respond to his texts or his emails, and I know he was unhappy about that.
Police say Scott had planned a quick, fatal goodbye for Claire. He then turned the gun on himself. In the bloody aftermath, police discover two very unique guns.
The first gun that I see is obviously a handgun, but it doesn't look like any handgun I've ever seen. The barrel is longer, it sticks out of the frame. My detectives are telling me, hey, these are homemade guns, and they're called ghost guns.
Ghost guns. Homemade lethal weapons that look and work like any firearm. And here's the scariest part. They are totally untraceable.
A ghost gun is a firearm that has been manufactured from parts by a person who is typically not a licensed firearms manufacturer. If they're manufactured for personal use, they are not required to be registered, and they are not required to be marked.
My first thought on that was, holy smokes, you know, there's no serial number, and if everybody's going to go out and make homemade guns, we're going to miss a major investigative piece on future crimes.
A ghost gun is not easy to make, but anyone with the skill, money, and access to certain tools can craft a deadly weapon within a few hours. Scott Bertix concocted a secret plan to make his guns.
He had got a public storage unit that nobody knew about. He had set up a PO box that no one knew about, and had been spending the last several months getting gun parts legally and building these homemade weapons.
And every day, more and more criminals are using ghost guns. John Zawargi, the madman who opened fire, killing 5 people in Santa Monica, California, used an assault rifle he built himself.
John's shooting rampage involved carjackings, a hail of bullets, all ending when he was shot by police.
Zawari used a ghost gun because he didn't pass a background check to buy a gun. And during a dramatic shootout in Stockton, California, bank robbers used fully automatic ghost guns. Cops say all those guns were bought on the black market, pre-made, with no serial numbers.
When crimes occur and police officers recover a firearm, one of the first things that they look for is the serial number on that firearm and the markings identifying who the manufacturer is. That information is then used to trace the firearm. When they recover one of these ghost guns, there is nowhere to go with it. There are no markings. There is no serial number.
Some lawmakers are trying to control it. California State Senator Kevin DeLeon introduced legislation requiring all homemade guns to be registered and every owner to get a complete background check.
The threat is real. We're even beginning to see an emerging industry and market for ghost guns. No one knows that they exist until after a crime has been committed.
The bill passed, but was later vetoed by the governor. Claire Blair Orton's tragic death still haunts her family and friends. Her mother knows she lost a daughter who could have made a difference.
She was at a point in her life where I feel like she was on the runway about to take off, and I think she saw her bright future and she was going to do some good in the world, and I don't want her future to end with her senseless death. I want her life to stand for something, and maybe this is what her life could stand for.
And along with these ghost guns, law enforcement and some policymakers are also very concerned about home 3D printers manufacturing working weapons. These guns could be made entirely with plastic materials and could well slip through metal detectors. Now, we want to hear from you. Should there be a law against the sale of ghost gun materials? Tell us what you think on our Facebook page.
Still to come.